Hi guys, my name is Colton.
And my name's Miguel.
Welcome back to Pilots and Passions.
Today we're going to be talking a little bit about ourselves and kind of our story as a CFI.
Yeah, we both went through pilot training, went through many certifications to get to where we are today, and we decided to talk about these certifications and how we got there.
So I can start by saying it definitely wasn't easy. It was definitely, at least for me, it wasn't easy. I don't know.
No, it
You
definitely was
maybe,
not easy at all.
and it definitely did take a lot of time and effort and energy, and definitely time away from family,
Yeah.
and
Money,
a lot of money,
yeah,
a lot of
lots of
missed
money.
events. But I think at the end of the day, it was worth it. I think it was worth it. I got into flight training. I've always been interested in aviation. My dad would always take us to air shows. Um, he has a huge model collection of airplanes and trains and cars, a lot of airplanes. He has like a bunch of shelves set up all over the house with airplanes everywhere. So aviation's always been a huge part of my life. That's kind of how I got started into it.
Mine was nothing like that at all. Mine was kind of a odd story. I started out I was a personal trainer and I had just finished college. I was a business major, did a couple internships, did not like being in a cubicle, did not like sitting at a desk for 8, 9 hours a day, and didn't enjoy it whatsoever. And was in a weird relationship at the time and went on a long trip and kind of got a introduction to how to get into aviation. Not a lot of people know how to get into aviation, and I certainly didn't. And my buddy's brother at the time kind of introduced me how the steps to get into becoming a pilot, and I went down that path, and it was kind of a glory. I was getting able to get out of the house more, and it was just a cool experience. I did a discovery flight. That's typically the first step into getting aviation. You go to a local flight school, and you'll pay whatever they charge, and you'll go up for about a half an hour and get to go fly. And that's what I did, and fell in love with it. I was like, this is what I want to do. I fell in love with it super late. I was 24 at the time. Yeah, 24, 23 at the time when I did it, and got into another, found myself a flight school and went after it.
And now that you mentioned Discovery Flight, you know how on Snapchat you get those like 8 years ago today this happened.
Yeah.
I think it was yesterday. I got 9 years ago today. You did your first Discovery flight.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nice.
And so you get to click it, see all those photos that I took with the instructor that I went with.
Yeah.
So I did mine. Basically, the way it worked is we got an hour of. It was an hour total. It was a 30-minute lesson in the sim,
Hmm.
and then a 30-minute flight.
You had a sim for your discovery flight?
Yeah, they gave us a 30-minute sim plus a
Interesting.
30-minute. Yeah,
That's not my experience whatsoever.
yeah. So that was pretty cool. The guy was pretty cool.
What'd you fly?
The sim was a Redbird, so it was
Okay.
a Cessna, and then we flew another Cessna. Um, in fact, I still remember that. So I fell in love with aviation after that. I still remember the tail numbers to this day. It was 1859 uniform. I did
Okay.
my discovery flight in that plane. Never forgot that tail number.
Hmm.
I forget the tail numbers of airplanes that I fly daily now, which I don't. But I don't know.
Hmm.
It was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting.
Nice.
Um,
Mine was at a very small flight school in St. Louis, and they tried cramming me in a Cessna 152. I said, absolutely, I said, absolutely not. This is not for me. I weighed 230, and this is not going to go. Uh, so I went in that, and then they bumped me up to 172, which I was fine with, and I got to fly around the Mississippi and around the St. Louis Arch around there, and that was really cool. So I did that, and that's where I was kind of living out at the time. That's where I mostly grew up, and did a couple flights down there, and it was really cool. And after that point, it took me a couple months to find the exact school I wanted to go to. That's the one thing I'll tell you is do your research when it comes to flight schools. Make sure you dig. You don't just jump at the gun at the first option. Do your research, because like I said, it's going to cost some money. It's going to cost a lot of your time to actually get into this business. So I did my research and I still screwed up. I went to a flight school down in Houston, and that's where I was born. I wanted to go back there. I always loved Texas. I wanted to go down to Houston. It's a pretty big flight school around the nation, and went down to Conroe and went there for about 3 months and didn't even solo, and I had about 50 hours. It was a bad experience I went through and kind of fell out of aviation for a little bit. I didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore. I moved back home, back to St. Louis for a little bit. My now wife, who I was dating at the time, we just started dating when I went into flight school. Terrible idea, by the way. She told me to move in with her. We moved in. We were still dating at the time. I went and worked for the county and did a day job, kind of. It started at 3 a.m. and ended at 1 p.m. And then I would go to flight training in the afternoon, study all afternoon, and worked my butt off. Paid my way through my private pilot, and it took me another about 6 more months after I got back into it, just because I had to retrain on some things that were never taught to me or anything like that. So that was a long process for my private pilot. It took me, with weather delays and everything, about 2 years just to get my private pilot license, with jumping schools, maintenance issues, weather, finance. It was just it's a whole deal for that was just my private pilot.
For mine, it was also a rocky road. I think the number one thing that I tell all my students is that if you can get through private, the rest of your training's gonna be more smooth than private. At least that's how it was for me. That's how it was from
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other stories that I hear, and just from seeing it
Yeah.
with the students that I've had from start to finish, it's the same thing with them. It's rocky during the private. They're still getting stuff figured out. They're still trying to figure out how to fly the plane. They're still trying to figure out if that's even something they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Once they get that, then it's like, I can do it. It's like that's the confidence booster to tell them I can do it.
Yeah.
So then they continue going on to instrument and then the commercial,
Mm-hmm.
and then so on and so forth. From there,
Yeah.
it's just whatever route they want to take.
Yeah. I think it's after that first solo is where they really get that boost. Like, it's a pretty big jump. And then the private is just a staple of, like, okay, I got this. I can go up and fly. And then they take their first flight as a private pilot and
taking their mom and their friends.
yeah, take family, and they just really enjoy it. And that's where it just skyrockets from there. Like, there's no ends meet. You just keep going with it. That's the other thing with going through training. If you're planning on just going and getting your private pilot license, you got to think of what you're going to do afterwards. Are you going to move on to instrument? Are you going to go buy a plane? Because you're going to spend all this time and money going through training, and you got to have some plan afterwards. Because if you stop for 3 months, 3, 4 months after you get your private pilot license, you're not going to be current whatsoever or proficient whatsoever. It's just not going to happen. I shouldn't say current, but yeah, you're not going to be proficient. We'll get into that later. But yeah,
there's a lot of truth into that because I had a student. I've had, well, I guess it depends on the student. I've actually had two students. One of them, he got his private license elsewhere, and he waited like 18 years. He hadn't flown a plane in 18 years, and then came to get his instrument rating.
Yeah.
And then I had another student who, I don't remember. I think it was somewhere around the 8-9 year mark when he got his license and then proceeded to do his instrument training. The one guy who took 18 years, he did a biannual flight review, of course, because it was required, and it took him like 4 or 5 flights, and after that he ended up being probably the best student I've ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, he was smart. He flew the plane really, really well.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this guy ended up dropping out because we did 3 or 4 flights and he just wasn't getting it, and ultimately he made the decision that he was kind of dreading coming in, knowing that he was going to spend the money and didn't feel like this is what he wanted to do, and he was kind of just falling behind and didn't feel like he could ever catch up.
Yeah.
So he said that he was going to take a minute to get his finances together, and he would come back and maybe revisit the whole flight training part. But it's definitely something that rolling into instrument would be the smartest decision.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting. I mean, of course, take a small break, right? You just worked your butt off to get your license.
Yeah.
Take a small break. before you start your instrument training.
No, 100%. Yeah, I think yeah, it helps with everything. I mean, even if you're not wanting to do this as a career, insurance having your instrument will lower your payment on your insurance pretty much. Yeah, so it's beneficial for you as a pilot. You know, you keep your head on a swivel, keep learning. That's the other thing about being a pilot. It's always learning. You're never stop learning, no matter where you are in aviation. It's a constant grind of learning.
If I had a day that I came and taught my students and didn't learn something, I'd be lying.
Yeah.
You're always learning something, or you're always, teaching something, and then while you're teaching something, it's like something just it's not adding up, or a student asks a question, okay, well, why is that, or how does that happen? And it's like, okay, well, I don't know. That's interesting. You go and look it up together and
I've had
figure it out.
so many times where students ask me questions because you'll get students from all different types of backgrounds, and they'll ask me questions where I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like,
See, the
I had to go
times that I
search
get
this.
that,
Yeah.
the times that I get that, it's they're taking something that makes sense
Mm-hmm.
and something else that makes sense, two complete different things,
Yeah.
and figuring out a way to relate them to each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, those are two complete different things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at first it's like, that makes sense, but why does that make sense? Because that's not true. And it's like, okay, no, that's its own thing, and that's its own thing. You can't mix those two things together.
Yeah.
That's something that I see a lot. I think I see that a lot.
Yeah.
More than a lot of other things.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, where'd you get your instrument rating?
So I did all of my training at the current job that I work at. So
okay.
I did my private. Well, I got my private instrument commercial multi-engine. Then I went to Mississippi and got my CFI, my double I, and then I came back for my MEI. So
okay,
done most of my training here. This is kind of like my aviation home.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I did majority of my ratings here to where I work, but I got my instrument rating here and my commercial. Then again, we went to different time periods, but I went and got my CFI and double I at the same school he did in Mississippi. And then, yeah, I'm not an MEI, so he holds it against me every day.
Yeah, he'll get there. He'll get
yeah,
there.
One day. But yeah, instrument training for me, I was through a college and did that route and enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I really liked my instructor here when I did it. We did a lot of night flying, which is so much fun. And even though I'm not supposed to be looking out, it was just there's no cheating at night because you can't see outside. So instrument training is we're just flying using everything in the cockpit. You know, we're simulating that we're flying through the clouds basically, and it was really good experience flying with my instructor who pushed me through the night. And I was commuting back and forth as well. From my wife was stationed in uh, Laughlin Air Force Base, which is about 2.5, 3 hours given day on traffic from my flight school. And so I would stay up here for 2 to 3 days in a row in a hotel and do 2 days. I'd fly in the morning, fly at night, and I worked my butt off for my instrument. I mean, it took me 2.5 months of doing that every single week, studying, and it was a grind. And also, I was preparing for my wedding too. We were getting married at the end of my instrument training as well. So it was so much stress. But once I got my check ride done, all I had left was my wedding, and it was like I feel like I was way more stressed in my check ride than my wedding. I feel like once I was done, I was like, all right, let's go get married. Let's go get this done. So
See, that's interesting because for me, instrument training was a breeze. I remember the day that I took my check ride, or it was the day before my check ride, when I was, doing that last minute studying that everybody tells you not to do. I remember telling myself or thinking to myself, like, I feel like I really didn't learn a whole lot. Like, I mean, it's all, legality stuff, and then you already know how to fly the plane.
Yeah.
It's just flying approaches, which I didn't find very difficult at all.
No, I didn't find that difficult. Well, I also came from flying a Cessna into the Diamond, which it was still a G1000 system,
Right.
but flying the different aircraft, it didn't take me super long. It took me about 3 or 4 flights to really get comfortable,
Right.
and the flows with everything, I think. And I didn't do my training here, so we had a towered field where I trained my private, but we never did on flight following. I never
Right.
really had to talk a lot on comms, so the talking and flying a lot kind of took me a little bit to get a grasp of. But instrument training, like I said, yeah, it is about a legality, like a lot of the regs and stuff that you have to cover, and the systems are a big thing too, and weather's another big
Oh,
subject too.
comms, trying to talk on the radio
Yeah,
and understanding your approach clearances and responding to those, and
yeah,
rushing to get the weather information for the airport at your next
yeah,
approach.
yeah,
Yeah, that was a bit of a struggle. I
yeah,
will admit that.
yeah.
But commercial, on the other hand, that I feel like was a little more rocky for me.
Really?
Yeah,
See, it was the opposite for me.
the maneuvers were fine, but it was really the ground knowledge, the amount of ground knowledge that you had to know and
Yeah.
going through all that stuff. Because I mean, I rolled right into instrument after private. I'd say I took
Mhm.
maybe like a month off, and then rolled into instrument training, and then I went right into commercial training. But
Yeah.
during that instrument period, I didn't touch on the commercial knowledge at all. I
Hmm.
was more focused on instrument rather than VFR flying. So
Yeah.
getting back into that VFR flying was not easy for me.
Yeah.
And I try to now, knowing which students are going to roll right into their commercial training from their instrument.
Mhm.
During instrument, I don't let them forget, hey, you still have to know this stuff too.
Yeah.
We'll go over that stuff, or I'll have them come in, on, of course, on all my ground lessons that I have with my students.
Mhm.
I may even assign them tasks to teach it.
Right.
But I like to remind them that, hey, this stuff is important. Don't forget it, because I promise it'll bite you in the butt later on, like it did me.
Yeah.
But going to commercial, it was mostly that ground knowledge, getting back into all the VFR flying, getting back in all the VFR regs, and getting everything down that I had to. I mean, I feel like I finished it in a timely manner. I think it took me like 7 months,
Mhm.
7 or 8 months,
Mhm.
to get it all done.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what the average is. How long did it
Yeah.
take you?
Mine, it was right about there. Yeah. So I started mine. So I finished my instrument in the fall semester, and then there was no classes through the winter, and then I started in the spring and finished end of summer. Yeah. So I finished in September. So I think it took me about 9 months.
Right,
Yeah.
so about the same time.
Yeah,
So
about
it's
roughly about the same time. Yeah. So, I honestly I didn't. I feel like it was just a lot of flying through commercial. I mean,
right.
it is a lot of solo. Like you just drive the plane and go, which is weird. It was weird to go back to solo
Yeah.
right out the gate, especially because I took the whole winter off because I wasn't in my semester for the college I was flying for, and so I had to wait into the spring semester and then go fly when I haven't flown in a few months. So I was like, hey, can somebody fly with me for a little bit? Because I needed like 1 or 2 flights for somebody to,
For that comfort.
yeah, just to get the confidence back. I did that, and after that, it was just like go, and I just did a bunch of cross countries, a bunch of solo local flights, and honestly, I didn't think it was too bad. Like you said, yes, the knowledge definitely significantly increases compared to the private pilot. But no, I think I enjoyed commercial. I had some good instructors, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, commercial was fun too. I had pretty good instructors. Like I said, it was just getting back into that. Not to mention, after you get your instrument rating, you feel like you're a super pilot. I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt like I was great. I was like,
yeah,
I'm starting commercial. You know what? I'm not even going to study for the written test.
yeah.
Went right in and took it. I didn't even study for it, and
Oh,
I passed. Not with a great grade, but I passed.
yeah,
Never went back to retake it. Probably should have.
yeah.
That definitely would have made my ride a little easier.
Right.
Especially because the DPE that I had for my commercial ride, man, the entire time he was just threatening to fail me. I mean, it was the entire time.
Yeah,
It got to the point where he was like, "If you look outside one more time, I'm gonna fail you." And I was flying the plane. I was making sure that it looked like I was looking outside.
yeah.
Um,
Oh man,
yeah,
that's
that's the
funny.
part that got me. But at the end of the day, I passed first
Yeah,
try, which was nice.
nice.
But commercial was definitely a little more on the tough side. The maneuvers weren't bad. The,
Yeah,
the new commercial maneuvers, they weren't bad, but
yeah,
it was the ground knowledge. It was the ground knowledge that really got
yeah,
me. And then after commercial, I rolled into multi-engine. Actually, it took me 2 semesters to get through multi-engine. The first time was because usually multi-engine, you have each school has one instructor, one plane,
Yeah.
and I guess I got very unlucky and had a semester full of people who were ready for multi. So it was difficult. I think I got one flight in during that semester, one flight and one ground lesson,
Wow.
and yeah, because there was just nobody available. So
Yeah.
it happens. I withdrew and I did it again and got my license. I feel like multi was probably the easiest one for me,
Yeah.
just because there's no knowledge test, and the ground, like even with my multi-engine students, I tell them, give me 3 or 4 hours, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about multi. Whereas private pilot, it's like, give me 3 or 4 months of ground, and I
Yeah.
will teach you everything you need to know about flying a plane.
Yeah.
So multi was definitely a lot easier.
Yeah.
Some of
But you have a good base too. You have a good base of everything else that's going on.
right.
Your confidence there. I mean, you're just flying with another engine. Just
I mean, that's true.
and aerodynamics are differently. But
Not that different. I mean, it's stuff that you could learn within
yeah,
an
100%.
hour or so. So I feel like that's what contributes to it being so easy.
Right.
But the maneuvers. I mean, they're different, but it was fine. It was fine too. Took my check ride with a guy who was pretty easy. So that was nice. That definitely helped out. That definitely helped out, especially during the approach phase of it. I got super nervous, and I think he saw that I started to get nervous, so he started to talk to me, calming me down while I was full right rudder during my single engine, multi engine approach.
Yeah.
So that was nice too. It's always good to have a good DPE to kind of help you get through that testing process because of how nerve wracking it is.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's definitely some examiners out there that you are scared of. Yeah, but I think I honestly, out of all the examiners, I really enjoyed. I had a different examiner for every single one of my check rides, besides my instrument and my multi. I had the same examiner, but every other one a different examiner. I passed all my check rides first attempt. The only one where I was afraid I was going to fail was my double I. This guy was just yelling at me the whole time in the plane. I mean, it got to the point where I thought I was gonna have to start yelling back at him. It was so bad. I mean, I was at an airport, a location in Mississippi. I did some practice approaches at another. It was over by Mississippi. It was underneath the Bravo. I was on the east side where we did all our training at, and where his exam was on the west side, and we did all these approaches. I've looked over, I briefed him and everything, but I never flew him, and I was doing fine, and he had me do everything in the book. I've heard double I check rides you'll do 2-3 approaches and maybe 1 or 2 maneuvers. That's it. I mean, he had me doing. First off, he had me everything partial panel. I didn't even know that was legal. Like, I mean, or he forgot. He was a pretty old guy. I think he took away half my panel, and I was flying the standbys pretty much the whole time, which is fine because on the right side you can see it better. With the G1000, to me, I could see the standbys better. But whatever. And he had me doing a DME arc, an unpublished hold off of VOR with distance. Steep turns, unusual attitude, and what else? Man, what? I mean, and then all 3 approaches, of course. And yeah, it was a train wreck out, and I felt like the ground was way longer than it needed to be. It was like a 3.5 hour ground. It was brutal. That was the only check ride where I'd had a DPU physically like yell at me, and I thought I was like, I'm gonna fail this check ride. But I passed and shook his hand and moved on. So yeah.
See, my CFI and double I, my CFI, I was nervous for. I mean, after all the horror stories that you
everybody,
hear,
everybody.
I was
yeah.
Just I couldn't sleep. I couldn't relax.
Nah.
I remember talking to my dad, and I was like, "I'm not gonna pass. Like, I already know. I'm just not gonna. You're gonna pass. You're gonna." And sure enough, I did. I don't know what miracle that was.
Yeah.
But sure enough, I did. I knew enough and got through it. Double I, same thing. I remember I was this close to discontinuing.
Yeah.
This close, just because, we started talking about the approaches that we were going to do, and you started up the airplane, and while I'm looking things over, she keys up to ground and asked, "Hey, do you know if Memphis is allowing Memphis International, the Bravo, the one where you look on ForeFlight and you see 19 of those FedEx planes on final for
Yep.
3 different runways.
Right.
That Memphis. And
Yeah.
do you know if they're allowing any approaches into Memphis? I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm gonna discontinue right then and there.
Yeah.
And some miracle they said no, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh thank goodness. So yeah, I just went to, I don't remember what airports I went to, but I
Yeah.
ended up getting all my stuff done there and finished up. I was there for one more day after I finished my training, and then I flew home the next day.
Yeah.
So
I
I
got
made it.
as soon as I finished my double up ride, because I had to delay mine a little bit because I got sick during the whole month I was there. I got sick for about 3 or 4 days. I was up in a hotel room, just nauseous all get out. It was terrible, and had to delay mine. They squeezed me in with another examiner for my double I ride. Got it done that same night. I drove from Memphis all the way to Dallas. Got a hotel room. I was ready to be home. I was so tired of being there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely staying at a hotel for I think it was 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Just staying in the same hotel for 3.5 weeks. When
Yeah.
I left, I was like, I'm never staying in another hotel ever again. I was so
Yeah.
done with it. I
Yeah.
mean, it was nice because they had breakfast and there was like bacon, waffles, and eggs, so that definitely helped. But
Yeah.
man, I was fed up with that hotel. I was
Yeah.
fed up with it. It was good to be home. It was definitely good
Yeah.
to be home.
Definitely for
It was
sure.
definitely good to be home. And then afterwards, it took about 2 weeks before I finally got my first job
Hmm.
as a CFI. I flew all light sport airplanes,
Nice.
Remos G3s and GX. They were nice because you could take the doors off,
Yeah.
and the hottest time of summer,
Hmm.
I was cold. So that was nice.
Nice.
As soon as you hit the runway, it felt great. It felt great. It was a little trippy at first, knowing that the airplane was probably about this big wide,
Yeah.
and so you look right outside and see the ground, and you could almost stick your head outside the window just by leaning it over an inch.
Hmm.
That was a lot of fun though. I definitely enjoyed flying that plane, and
Yeah.
then got a job where I currently work, and I've been here for about a year now.
Yeah.
Doing everything
Nice.
from private, instrument, commercial. I've had multi passes. I've had got my first MEI. I've had
Oh yeah.
yeah, and then uh, I am having a double I student come on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's gonna happen here in the near future, so I'm excited for that.
That's cool. Yeah. I had my first month here. I had a double I student, and he was doing great. We had to work through a couple things because his instructor left, and so we had to change a couple things when he came in. We trained for about a month, and then he got not even a month. It was like 2 weeks, and he got another job. I mean, good for him. He got a job, a CFI job.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he ended up leaving, and so yeah, I mean, he was so close to going to get his check right done,
Really?
but he got a job offer, so I don't blame him. So I would have signed him off. 2 or 3 more flights, and he would have been fine. But yeah,
Yeah, I feel
yeah,
like double I is not very hard to pass.
no.
I feel like that's probably one of the easiest rides.
Well, I thought so too, and clearly I was wrong on mine. So
Oh boy.
yeah, all the other check rides are fine. Just that double I ride was
I think that
brutal.
might have been the examiner.
I was
That
because
might have been the
he was out
examiner.
for blood. He was. Yeah, so
Well, I
much.
heard that guy was a pretty rough guy too. He didn't
Yeah,
let you get
everybody
away
told
with
me.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah. So that's really about it. Yeah. Private do the same thing. Student pilots, private instrument, commercial, not multi, not yet.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, you'll
Yeah,
get
I'll get
there.
there one day. But yeah, typically coming in to work, it's starting out. I typically have my schedule start midday and go into the later afternoons. You go early.
Yeah, I go
Yeah,
like
you're early bird.
8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Just
Yeah.
the mornings are the best time to fly. I mean, assuming that weather works
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
It's nice and cool outside, and
Yeah.
there's nobody else. So like you pretty much at my 8:30 flight, I can choose whatever airplane I want, which is nice.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have issues. I schedule out typically about 2-3 weeks out ahead of time, and then you do probably about the same, right?
I try to do about a week, 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just because we're so busy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we won't get an airplane.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but some homework life balance, really. I mean, so for me, wife and kid live in Del Rio, so I stay out here in an Airbnb for about 2 weeks at a time, and I go home for about 3 or 4 days. So kind of already living the airline life, kind of really. That's the reality of it. I mean, it's a lot of traveling, but my wife's active Air Force right now, and we're loving it, and what we're doing, and trying to chase passions. So
Right? Yeah, I'm lucky to have all my family super close to home. So
yeah,
I wake up, go to work, go home, rinse and repeat. I mean,
yeah.
there's not
Do
really a
these
whole lot. Yeah,
do these videos.
yeah, and I have fun doing some videos.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, like I said, I'm blessed to have my family close to home. I have that's the reason why I'm here in the first place is because I want to be close to family,
yeah,
and so I'm not excited for the airline life. In fact, that's not actually. I don't really plan on going to the airlines. I'm trying to
right.
look for something that's a little more consistent, like 7 days on, 7 days off, or 7 days on, 4 days off, six
Yeah,
days on, 6 days off, something like that. Something that a schedule that I can work with, that I can plan family events. My family will know, okay, he's going to be home these times, so we can
mm,
plan parties here. We can plan to go and do things at these times. So something that'll work a little better with home life balance, because I feel like to me that's the most important part.
yeah,
Over, I know I won't be making a whole lot,
yeah.
or as much as I could,
You can.
um, but to me, I feel like that was kind of the more important piece,
Yeah,
for my aviation career. So that's kind of the
yeah,
direction that I'm hoping it heads
yeah,
towards.
yeah. And I'm in the same boat. And there's the companies who I've applied for the future. I definitely, when I put into my resumes, or they might ask, what are you looking for in your life, is definitely a good home work life balance.
Right?
And there's a couple of companies out there that have that 7 on 7 off schedule, and those typically are my number one, two, and threes. What I really want out of it. So
Yeah.
that's really the goal. And I love aviation. I love the passion, the learning, and everything. But I definitely love being with my wife and kid, and enjoy that time with them as well. So
Yeah. Um, One day I'll have a family, and then it'll be even more important. But
yeah,
so I can only imagine how you feel, and you know kind of where your career is headed and
mm-hmm.
what you have for your goals for yourself.
Yeah,
Um, like I said, I'm not trying to make a whole lot. I'm just trying to pursue a career in aviation and keep this going, because I can't see myself doing anything else.
yeah,
As I really
same.
enjoy this. I really enjoy this.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, oh,
I mean, that about wraps it up.
yeah,
I mean,
sounds good to me. Cool. Well, thanks for watching Pilots and Passions. Again, my name is Colton.
Miguel.
So stay tuned for the next video. We're going to be doing some other things, not just sitting here, but we'll go out. We're going to do some videos out and about, and
We have some plans. We have some pretty
yeah,
big plans to,
no,
on things that we're gonna enjoy doing, and take you guys along with it.
yeah. So hope to catch you guys next time.